from the eyes of the young rider, I can find out the solution is we need to change the political system. So that's made me very active during the 1988, and at that time, I was so lucky because, you know, in 1989, during the demonstration and the protest, I took part in the demonstration. After that, I joined National League for Democracy, at that time as a sympathizer, helping Aung San Suu Kyi in some of our campaign trips and assisting the information sections of the NLD. And after she was under house arrest, I couldn't stop my political dissidence activities. So I do the underground political movement. And then in 1993, instead of transferring the power of the winning party NLD in 1990 election, the military regime decided to introduce the National Convention, which was aimed to draw the draft of the current constitution, and it's off the track of the true political process. So we were against that National Convention. So for that reason, I was arrested. They have been chasing, they thought it was two persons. We do have, my name is very usual, very, a lot of people has been named under Theda. So they have been chasing a medical doctor under the name of Theda, or another writer under the name of Theda, something there. So when they found it out, it's only one person. So I was arrested in 1993. By that time, I already worked at Muslim Free Hospital as a volunteer doctor. So I was sentenced to 20 years imprisonment. Altogether, 4 charges applied to me. 7 years imprisonment for endangering public serenity, 3 years imprisonment for contact with illegal organizations. That's me. I read a periodical published and distributed by National Coalition Government Abroad. So the members elected members of parliament in 1990, they left the country and they founded that coalition abroad as a parallel government. So I read a periodical published by that government, and I was accused contact with the illegal organization. And according to the 1962 Printing Act, for printing and distributing the illegal pamphlets, I was sentenced to another 5 years plus 5 years. So that's why altogether 20 years imprisonment. So my imprisonment started in 1993 October, and to make it short and later edit my experience, I already have my book published all details about my imprisonment. It was pretty bad experience in terms of the human rights violation. I was critically ill and I contracted pulmonary tuberculosis, endometriosis, so many other problems. On top of that, because of my stubbornness, they thought I was really a bad prisoner. So it helped me, I think, because I was sentenced after 5 years, 6 months, even though I owe 14 years, 6 months imprisonment. But luckily, last year in April, with the new president, he pardoned all our old imprisonment term. So to make it short, the situation is a little bit better for ex-political prisoners. We don't need to serve anything. So before last April, we still need to be cautious about we can be charged the rest of the imprisonment term if something's went wrong. So that situation make it to think. I talk a lot already, so I will.
Well, we want to hear you more, but maybe we save the reflection time for both of you, and now we go with Mr. Nikulai.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Siama Matida, please. I want to talk, but my English is not so good. So I will talk in Burmese. Please explain. I have, Brahmaputra town,
He was in prison 2 times in Myanmar.
The car of Tonga Shissene Lima.
The first time was in 1984. Before there was no 1988 protest. Yeah, during that time he was arrested for only 7 months. It was during the Newin's dictatorship period. It's also related to his political dissidence activities. I need to explain a little bit. His parents were very, very famous writers and journalists of our country. We all respect his parents. And his elder brother, he also very dedicated and very conscious citizens. So he left for the jungle. He became a rebel and he left for joining the one of the political dissidents group outside Burma. And although the military intelligence got all the informations, every detail, how he went to the jungle, everything, but they really want to attack his family. So they arrested both of his parents and himself. The second time he was arrested in 1990 to 1999. During the military regime, we do have a martial code instead of the former penal code. So martial code sentenced him 10 years imprisonment with labor. The articles charged are the 17(1) contact with illegal organization and 5J endangering public serenity. As soon as they arrested him, they interrogated him inside the prisons in Mandalay, and next day they sent him by flight to Yangon to continue the investigation. Indeed, he doesn't want to explain in detail how he has been gone through this investigation period because you all are so young, and after listening this kind of very negative experiences, you might feel fear. That's why he doesn't want to tell every detail. However, he wants to explain, just accept this kind of the experiences as a normal experience for a dissident.
Canvas 8 another so the eight soup,
They put a very dirty black, stained with blood, the bag from his head and beat him and kicked him, and then they also used the electric shock. They interrogated him for 5 days non-stop, no water, no food, and no time to sleep. Even though he decided not to make any more people to be arrested, he resisted this kind of the hard experience, but they already got the information they needed. After the interrogation, he was kept inside the 8 feet by 10 feet 8 cells. Inside, there are altogether 8 persons. Since it's pretty much crowded, they cannot just walk, so they just sit there, they just eat there, they just need to do toilet in that similar positions. Normally, for the political prisoners, the sentence before was not without the labor, but he was sentenced to 10 years with the labor. That's why he need to walk as a prisoner. Normally, for normal prisoners, for the criminals, if they need to walk as a prisoners, they can get a 1/3 deduction from their imprisonment time, but they do need to walk without having any deduction. They need to serve the full time. Since there is no flush-out toilet systems inside the prisons, they do need to take care of their own waste every morning. Normally, political prisoner has been kept quite separately, but he has both experience. He was in isolation cells. Also, he was kept together with other criminals. That's why he has very diverse experiences with not only with the political prisoner, but also with the bad criminals. The ironic good things about being in prison, he had so many stories to write, so he keeps writing these stories till now. Oh, if someone from here would like to listen stories of the imprisonment, can you raise your hand?
Thank you.
Can he?
Moderator နဲ့လေးစားတော့အဖြစ်ကျွန်တော်မြတ်တာရပ်ပါတယ်
Yeah, he respect to you. Can I? Yeah.
ကျွန်တော်သက်90ကျော်နေတဲ့လေသမားအဖိုးအိုကြီးတယောက်နဲ့တရက်ထောင်မှာအတူနေခဲ့ဘူးတယ်
And you know, he spent a couple of years in one prison and he was moved to another prison. So in one of these prisons, he met a 70 years old farmer.
သူကလူသားမှုနဲ့ကြာတော့
He was sentenced for the murder case.
စက်တာကလည်းစစ်သားလေးတယောက်ကိုသူစက်ပါတယ်
He killed a young soldier.
အဲ့ဒီကသူ့သမက်
That soldier is his own son-in-law.
သူတို့လည်းမရမှာတူဒီတော့တမီးကလေးရှိတယ်
Yeah, that guy has only daughter.
တမီးလေးကိုသိချစ်ပါ
They love her a lot.
စစ်သားလေးကသူ့သမက်စစ်သားလေးကရှေ့တန်းကပြန်လာတဲ့အခါညနေမှာမူးပြီးမိမကိုနှိပ်စက်တယ်
That son-in-law, a soldier, after he came back from the frontier, he normally beat their daughters every evening, but since he was drunk,
အဖေနဲ့အမေကတိတ်ချရတဲ့သူတို့ချော့မော်ပြီးပြန်လွတ်ရတယ်စားကလေးရင်တွေကိုပြန်ပို့ရတယ်
yeah, their daughter doesn't want to marry anymore, but they encourage her to come along.
နေ့ရက်3ရက်နေတိုင်းဖြစ်တဲ့ခါတရက်တော့ကလေးကသမီးနဲ့အညုံမဲတွေဆွဲပြီးပြန်လာတယ်တရားတွေနဲ့လက်ပါတဲ့သဘော
One evening, their daughter came home with all the wounded because the soldiers hit her.
ဒီခါတော့သမီးလေးကိုပြန်မလွတ်ပါဘူးခေါ်ထားလိုက်တယ်တမက်ကလေးအလာကိုစောင့်
So he kept their daughter and then waited for the soldiers' son-in-law to come.
တမက်ကလေးကရွာလမ်းကိုမူးပြီးတော့ဝက်သိုးကျုံချုပ်လမ်းလျှောက်ပြီးရောက်ခမအိမ်ကိုလာတယ်
Yeah, that soldiers was drunk and came to their house.
အဲ့ဒီခါကျွန်တော်မိတ်ဆွေဦးထွန်းကျော်ကဆုံးမတာတစ်ချက်တည်းပဲဆုံးမပါတယ်65ချက်သားဓမ္မနဲ့ဆုံးမလိုက်ပါ
And when the soldiers arrived home, and that 70 years old farmer, he just used a heavy machete to make him punishment.
it weighs 95
Nearly
one vase သူဖတ်မပြေဘူးသွားပြီးအဖမ်းခံတယ်သူများတွေကဖတ်ပြေဖို့ပြောပေမဲ့မပြေပါဘူးယောက်ျားလုံရဲရင်ခံရတယ်လို့ပြောပါတယ်
He went to the police station and saying that he killed his son-in-law because he knows he's a man, so he dared to take the consequences.
သူမိမကဝင်းနေတယ်ဘာလို့လဲဆိုတော့ခုတ်တဲ့ဓာတ်ကိုအပ်လိုက်ပြီးမဲ့ရဲကဒီတော့အသက်ကြီးတဲ့အဖိုးကြီးကဒီဓာတ်နဲ့တစ်ချက်တည်းခုတ်လို့တည်တယ်ဆိုတာမယုံဘူးဒါကြောင့်မို့အိမ်မှာရှိတဲ့ဓာတ်တွေလာသိပ်သွားတာချက်သွန်တော်ခွာစရာမရှိတော့ဘူး
Even though he confessed that he killed with this very heavy machete, the police couldn't believe. So the police tried to keep all the knives from their home. So his wife said there is no other wives to do kitchen stuff.
ကျွန်တော်တို့နဲ့နေတဲ့အခါမှာကျွန်တော်တို့ကသူ့ကိုလေးစားတာဆက်ဆံပါတယ်လူသားသမားလူသားဥရလို့ခွဲခြားဆက်ဆံမှုသူ့ရဲ့အသက်ကိုထောက်ထားပြီးတော့ကျွန်တော်လေးစားတာဆက်ဆံ
he tries to pay respect to this farmer even though he kills this
ထောင်မှာအသားကိုတစ်ပတ်မှတစ်ရက်ပဲကျွေးတယ်
In Burmese prisons, only 1 meal per week they can have meat.
ကျန်တဲ့အနက်တွေကအစားတော့ဆင်းရဲပါလေရွှေပြုတ်ရည်နဲ့ငပိရည်နဲ့ညနေစားတယ်မနေ့မှပဲဟင်းစားတယ်
The rest of the other meals for the whole week, we all just rely on the vegetable soups or the lentil soups, but very bad quality.
သူအိမ်ကလည်းထောင်ဝင်စားမလာနိုင်ဘူးကျွန်တော်အိမ်ကလည်းထောင်ဝင်စားမလာနိုင်ဘူးဒါပေမဲ့အသားပေးတဲ့တမနဲ့မှာညနေအသားကျွေးမဟုတ်တမနဲ့မှာဒီမင်းနေပုံနဲ့ကိုပြန်လျှော့တယ်သူ့ကိုပေးပါလို့တွားမရှိတဲ့အဖိုးရကျွန်တော်မြစ်တာရက်
that farmer doesn't even have teeth anymore. We normally know which meat we can have meat. For that reason, before he can expect to have a piece of meat, he asked him to give him the rest of the rice he's going to have. So he just want to have more rice for the meat.
ကျွန်တော်ကဘာသွားတယ်မရှိဘဲနဲ့ထမင်းတွေဘယ်လိုလုပ်စားနေတာတော့အပေါ်လို့နေတဲ့အခါသိချင်ငါတော့လိုက်ခဲ့လို့ပြောတယ်
Oh, he wonders how he can eat these rice without having any teeth. And then the farmer answer, if you want to know, just follow me.
တကယ်တော့သူကကိုချုပ်ထားတဲ့အုပ်ရိုးကြီးကိုစောင့်ရတာအုပ်ရိုးဆောင်နေသူ့နေရာကိုလိုက်ရင်ကျွန်တော်အရိုက်ခံမှာသူလည်းအရိုက်ခံမှာဒါပေမဲ့သူမကြောက်မရွံ့ကျွန်တော်ကိုခေါ်တယ်
Indeed, his labor in the prison is to be the guard besides the high wall. If he asks someone to come with him, both of them can be punished, but he dared to invite him to follow him.
မကြောက်ပါနဲ့လိုက်ခဲ့ပါဒီလိုအသားကျွေးမဲ့ရက်မှာဘယ်ထောင်ဘူးထောင်ပိုင်မှာငါတို့အုပ်ရိုးကိုလာမစစ်ဘူးလို့သူကပြောတယ်
Yeah, according to his experience, none of the officers might interrogate or they check in this particular time.
ဘာလို့လဲဆိုတော့သူတို့ကညနေကျွန်တော်တို့ကျွေးမဲ့အသားပုံစံကိုဖိုးခေါင်းကကျွန်တော်တို့ခုတ်တာလည်းသိပြီးခုတ်ပြီးအကျဉ်းသားတွေထောင်မှုထောင်ဝင်တွေအတွက်ခွဲတာခိုးခုပေးလို့အဲ့ဒါတွေစားရအောင်ဖိုးကြီးတွေမှာသူတို့ရောက်နေလိမ့်မယ်လို့ပြောတာပါ
In this for this particular meal, the team of the prison officers and the persons, they normally wants to do some corruptions from the amount of the meat, so that's why they will be busy with doing this.
တကယ်စားတော့တွားရရှိတဲ့ကျွန်တော်ကတလုံးမကုန်သေးဘူးတွားမရှိတဲ့ဖိုးရအရင်ကုန်တယ်
Yeah, when they eat that piece of meat with the rice, he cannot finish that much, but the farmer finished very quickly.
ကျွန်တော်ဒုတိယအလုပ်လုပ်တော့သူကတတိယအလုပ်ရောက်နေ
Yeah, he's finished very quickly.
ဘာသိမှလည်းမပါဘူးပုံစံသမင်းဟင်းကိုဒီလောက်မြန်မိန်ရှက်စားတာဘာလို့လဲလို့မေးတော့မင်းတတိမထားမိဘူးလားလို့ပြောတယ်
Yeah, when he asks how comes you can quickly finish it, and he just asks, don't you notice?
ကျွန်တော်ကတတိမထားမိဘူးလို့ဖြေလိုက်
Yeah, he said he didn't.
ထောင်ပိုင်းအိမ်ကညှို့နဲ့ငါနေစားနေတာလို့သူကပြောတယ်
You know, the place where they are next to the wall is very close to the uh, key officers of the prisons. So the kitchens of the officer, it's having a smell of. So that farmer answer, yeah, I just have it quickly because of the smell from the kitchen from the officers.
Are these some of your stories that you write?
Yes.
So this is an example of your writings from prison.
Yes, I have so many short stories like that. And sometimes I talk at the TV talk over the country.
To other countries as well.
Sure.
So
No, we do have a tradition to having the literary talk inside the country. So whenever he was invited, he talk about these kind of stories.
So your stories have been translated into English? No, but they're being transmitted to the younger generation so that there's that historical continuity so that they don't forget, which is very, very important.
Thank you.
Dr. Tida, were you ever in isolation during prison?
Yeah, no, we were kept. For my case, I was normally kept inside prison. Yeah, normally I was alone in my case because, you know, even though I was critically ill, at that time my body weight was only 80 pounds and I having the 6 months consecutive fever, and also because of the endometriosis, very irregular menstrual cycle, and it's hard even to, because of the anti-TB treatment and the hormonal therapy for my endometriosis, my liver went shut down. So I couldn't even drink water. So my condition was pretty critical. At that time, I claimed to having someone, at least a criminal, to stay with me inside the 8 feet by 10 feet cell, but they didn't allow. They thought I can convince anybody to rebel as I is.
That's quite a compliment, right? It's quite a compliment in hindsight.
Yeah.
What I'm certain many here are wondering, how do you keep up your spirit despite the torture? It's psychological torture, it's physical torture, the duration, the conditions are horrific beyond imagination. How did you keep up your spirit? Were you able to read? Because you are thought leaders, you're intellectuals, you're used to reading as part of your spiritual edification. How did you keep up your humanity in spite of everything?
In our days, we were not allowed to read nor write. If we were found it out, reading and writing, it's a big crime. So
This is in prison or
this is in prison.
Okay.
This is in prison.
So you were not-
We were not allowed to
5
read.
years
Yeah.
you did not read.
Yeah.
As an educated person, you went out without reading.
Yeah.
5
Even
years.
I
As
asked
a
them
minor,
to
you
have
went without 10 years.
medical books to read, but not allowed. So
That
only
in itself is torture,
It
right?
is, it is.
Torture, especially for
It
everyone,
is.
but especially for someone who is so habituated to read.
I ever feel without reading, I feel I committing a crime. So for me, it's so hard. But luckily, Vipassana meditation is reading myself. Doing meditations to read myself helps me a lot.
What do you mean by meditation? For example, what did you do from morning? When you wake up, what did you do?
The Vipassana meditation is just the making mindfulness awareness to my body and mind's movement, the appearance and disappearance. So that's helped me a lot.
So it's your way to maintaining your freedom spiritually, psychologically, even though you're physically detained. Is that something that you did? What did you do to maintain your humanity?
စာမဖတ်ရရင်မနေနဲ့လို့ Seneca Pinzicani, Pedi Pakeba.
Yeah, it's normally what we do is we in maize what the cigarettes, the cheroots. So the bottom part of the cheroots, it's made by papers, especially sometimes it's newspapers. So just take off it and try to read, yeah, the pieces of the papers. But for me, I was so lucky, I can smuggle in some of the books, sometimes, not every time.
So, to survive, you've read. That's the reflection of what it means.
There is a story about that kind of piece of newspaper, old newspapers. It is very, very straight for me. It is a very nice story. I want to tell my audience. The nature of silly Pinziga put me Panakama. Janoy, the way you deal in Nayi, the Tinsanama Ted and Nayi, Jonia, complete Jari, and a song like Ludiachano, with Lampurachano, Uranjana, I'm all just the common.
One day he found it in this piece of a newspaper from the bottom of the cheroots. What it is an obituary of one of his cousins.
The Dinzaga Samina Sashi.
And how did you feel when you?
General H. John Pilgrim. The Dinza Samina Sashi song of Teda. Town would have said it in Yaimuna Daha. Quati Dilu Yabusra. Ship with Pit Lemau. General A. General Mapio Tare, General Tide, Inga Lareka, General Niti, Polalu, Piale de Kama, Inga Anowale, General Piale de Drinzao, and Namashi, someone think your tongue and dimmer.
He kept the peace, and when we were allowed to meet our family 15 minutes per 14 days. Every fortnight, yeah, we can meet our parents. So when he met his family, he showed the piece of this obituary, and at that time the prison guards grabbed it and put him into the sort of the banishment.
Solitary confinement for just showing.
Sorry, I am still at the cell. Some of my friends from the other cells sent that piece to me. General, how my say these or none of the Jihayu Majum thing are kid. General, the rings are cold in the TV. General, the out here with the last Kaya Buddha.
The prison's officers didn't believe that he got it from the bottom of the cheroots. They thought he smuggled in this piece. That's why they stripped his cells and himself off.
How were both of you freed?
Well, for me, the meaning of freedom, I did
How
write.
were you physically free?
30 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening, we were allowed to get out of our cells. So for the whole day, for 24 hours, 23 hours and 15 minutes, we were locked behind the bars. But in this book, I mentioned about once one of the prison officer told me that, Nadiraj, you are free, we are not. Because,
Did you catch that? Can you repeat that slowly so that they caught it? So
yeah, it's because...
Well,
yeah.
read the book. Actually, you don't need to repeat it. Buy the book and read it.
It's a very long story, so to make it short, because 6 months consecutive fever, body weight was only 80 pounds, etc., etc. They were sent to the outside prison, And without having any treatment, I was sent back to the cell, because the medical in charge of the female ward, she wants me to bribe her. I refuse it, so she never ever cooperates me. So that's for that reason, even though I was critically ill, I got no treatment whatsoever after the hospital, the general hospital. So as soon as I went back to the cell, and I was claimed to give up the medicines I kept inside myself, because she really wants me to push harder to bribe her, to cooperate with her. So I refuse it. Then it was very intense situation. After that, I declare hunger strike, I couldn't give up my medicines because I know how to treat myself. So to make it short, after the conversation, we did like a very harsh conversation between the high-rank J officers, that medical in charge, and myself. So during that conversations, the prison officers told me, Mathira, you are free, we are not. He said, you are free in your thoughts and words, but we are not free since we are the civil servants. So what is the freedom? Did I really lose my freedom or freedom of expressions inside the prison? I don't believe. Freedom is always with us. Until and unless we voluntarily give up our own freedom, they cannot push us.
We have 30 minutes left. I would like to open the floor to questions, if that's okay. And maybe in the question and the back and forth, there will be some reflection time, and maybe I leave the last. Is that right that we have 30 minutes left, or no? Oh, we have 20 minutes left, so we should really open up the floor. And maybe in that time, if you can provide reflections for the future the younger generation who are really benefiting, not just in Myanmar, but globally, who are benefiting from your work and your resistance and your ideas and thoughts. Because I know I'm not Burmese, I'm Cambodian. I have been so inspired by your stories. So why don't we open the floor to questions and comments?
I have been somewhat late in coming here, so could not make out one thing. Is the imprisonment she is talking about, is it under Khmer Rouge rule? Khmer Rouge rule or some other time? Yeah, your imprisonment, what period it was? Under which government? So
my presence is confusing this conversation a little bit. I'm Cambodian. I'm from Cambodia, and I lived under the Khmer Rouge.
Oh yes.
So with Myanmar, it's the military junta, and sorry because I started the story and I started the confusion, but that's why I
okay. So I just came here. I thought she was there. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I just wonder, I mean, the people who, like so-called, who tortured you, they're the same people, I mean, your own people only. So I think it will be very painful. And number two, now because the situation has changed, now what is, I mean, now things have improved, and all your writings, whether will it bring a change in Myanmar?
Keep young money, keep young karma. Town them as a patron, they bury Yanni. Chalodo do a Sate Yijin a come, Yigwe Matalu, plastic upon a chow and chip ye, any. He Kobe appeared to care a one put about young dog.
He said during his days, use a sharp object on the plastic sheet to write, but now people can read and write inside the prison. So some part of the system has been changed dramatically, but still we do face sort of the other obstacles, to edit. You might see there are a couple of existing laws is still blocking us to practice our freedom to write, freedom of expressions, etc. But things has been changed. There were no more censorship, and the 5G, Article 5G, endangering public serenity, that article has been demolished already.
Hello. Thank you for all sharing all your experiences. I just want to share what is the scene over here in India. It's been a democracy always, but over here recently we have been seeing there it's a curtailment of freedom of expression. Now, freedom of expression should start from the home. When we are expressing something and the parents are curtailing our expression, then there is a kind of something is inside us. And when we don't express it, later it results in a kind of blast. So we have to take care of that also. And as far as the political scene is concerned, everywhere we think leaders like Macron, younger leaders, they are not coming up. So people, younger generation, when we talk about politics, they say it's a filthy business. Not good men are there. So it's being seen that it's a dirty scene there. So what do you think, like, what I feel is if the younger generation sees that no, by joining there, we will get into the system and be a party to it. Is it easier? It's not easier, but we have seen and come across the comments that no, it's like people can't survive. So
I think, you're right. I used to say for democracy, we need to value the human rights. But if we don't know how to practice our rights, it's similarly we violate the rights. Especially some of the rights like the freedom of expression is not individual rights, it's collective rights. So if we cannot practice freely and effectively, we can definitely violate the other people's rights. That's why we really truly need to understand what are the rights, how we should practice, and etc. from the very beginning, from the home, from kids to the adult. Yeah, you're so right. Thank you.
We have one more question.
Respected panelist, ma'am, and moderator, ma'am. When I have heard stories of Sir Nipulai, then I want to share our stories of this land. This land is known as Northeast. Just after the independence, the entire Northeast region has been confronted a kind of secessionism against the center, and it resulted by some kind of armed revolution or some kind of non-armed revolution. But in the period of 1980, in the period of 1990, or still now, the same stories or the same stories was happening in this land also. So my question is that the political prisoners or the political questions should be solution or should be solution by political way. So I think that solution by armed system or solution by imprisonment or some kind of death system is not the final way, is not a right way to ensure or to solution the system or the solution the political phenomena. So I think.
Thank you.
Thank you. I agree with you.
Respected new Poo Laser, I'm a local journalist. I have a question for you. As a writer, I just heard your sufferings in prisons in Burma. I have a question for you. What is your view about the Rohingya crisis? It's just whole world is watching towards Burma, and your great leader Suki. What is your view about this? I just clear answer for me.
Say when I will call it Mego Mabe, you know, don't know the mind chibi, she my case are pity, the widow, you know, to Mujari Boma, Rohingya Boma, Momoma, you know, Mita de Ashibare, Toto Shishi Wui, Piyama, a chamber of Monopoly, General Pide Piha. Leshi, a soya boma, Tika Siari, she the Petolo, Dilaway.
He said it's an interesting question, but it's need to explain the whole history. So with the limited time, and he can guarantee he has no hate towards any race or religions, especially Rohingya, but he cannot say the whole story in this limited time. So thank you for your question.
And also, we should probably keep the topic of prisoners of conscience because I can see the Rohingya issue being a larger issue. So thank you for that question, despite.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sir, I wanted to ask you that after the Second World War, a lot of the countries in the Southeast Asian region and in other parts of the world, they got freedom. So, after freedom, only a few countries were able to get to a democratic form of government, and it is often said that the rest of the other nations who got freedom, they restored to the dictatorship, and a few people in those countries who got dictatorship, a few people in those nations, they say that we need foreign intervention, you know, military intervention sort of thing, and this thing is also being said by USA. Now it is in Cuba, you know, that we need to military intervene in those nations so that they can have democracy. So what is your view on that? Should there be foreign intervention in a newly independent country where there is a dictatorship? I mean, will it be helpful? That's what I want to ask.
Alone show Privale Koga Lila Ari Nere Kama Kupada ko Tisao Pu Amtopin, Tumiago, your day, Ibao, your Akure Lurishivale, General the Bogado Good name as you, Pada Tisao Piesiame Senior Nishi, the Sari Patame. Leila are going, go Dagi, Democracy Nanga Kupio, Kupada, Pisau Yamalu,
Indeed, it's our country's situations and our country's history and the nature is pretty much complicated. But what he believes is if we learn more, if we know more about our own situation, we can build our own style of democracy. We just need to rely on our own society and people to get out. So my answer also, what we do believe is we are trying, we just still not yet into the transition. Even though the whole world thought we already into the transition. What I believe is with the 25% seats of the armies in the parliaments, all national and regional parliaments, and 3 major ministries, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Home Affairs, and Ministry of Border Affairs are still direct control under Commander-in-Chief, and the judiciary systems, big Attorney General and the other very high-ranked judiciary officers are all ex-military officers, and according to the current constitution, they can be that position for at least another decade. So with this constitution, with this condition, we cannot make it anything, even though the whole world, international community pushing out or intervene us. So we try to build up from our own region. So that's why we all prefer to have a very conscious, responsible citizens from our country.
Good afternoon. You said that father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi, there was a turning point in his life that when he was thrown from a first-class compartment in South Africa, and there was a turning point when he said this thing. Was there any other such events in your life against the totalitarianism, against the regime, that made you take a decision that okay, that there are other experiences that you had in the regime, that do you have such experiences like this? Do you recollect this thing?
Jama Pepuru, Mita, the Yashi Taderu, Reza, Mahatma Gandhi, Lanzeno, Mamare, Chalu, they call Mare, Chichen, Ato, and the Comare, General Taipi Maro, Tumian and Maturaga, Nepal, Nazejo, Anasesame, Omane, Kevituru, Tazi Mine. He said, Chibuame, for the Oshobo chicken, we tap the Kena. Eddie Jarema, Ningazejo, a dreamer, today a thing and the Pesi Jakantara, Edika, Pian be no tabu bread. General the outfit ball, Pioya, Mita de Arukona, no Nilo. Mapina Lutin, Genoa, the Mochi that it all. Well,
it's good to have a non-violent movement, but the problem is after more than 5 decades and a very, very militant military government, and the military presence is still going on in every pillars of the democracy basis. It's very hard. Even we cannot even say, can I add my own answer with his answer together? So it's even when I talk transitional justice, everybody pointed me it was so dangerous. How dares you say this word, something like that. So you can imagine the whole country is still not yet get out of the military power. So even we cannot, according to the current constitution, one article prohibited to do the backward taking actions towards any dictator or any wrongdoing. So in this situation, how can we have a very big countrywide non-violent movement? It's almost pretty much impossible, and the way the military keep its power till now is simply like the colonial methods, divide and rule, and the identity politics. So the keeping insecure sense of insecurity among the community will make the benefit for the military to keep its power. So for that reason, they try to use any ways to keep our society in a sense of insecurity.
So we have time for one more question, and then I would like, after their answer, I would also like them just to conclude with impressions and thoughts, and also a message for the younger generations, not only the Burmese generation, the Burmese population, but really for everybody. So last question, your responses, and then your reflection and message for all of us who are really been so inspired by your work.
From the conversation, I can understand that how fear is an instrument for the Burmese government to exploit and or to dominate the people of their own country. I have read one of your interview in the Irrawaddy where you have mentioned that fear makes people fierce, and how do you see? The young Burmese generation, how they have. They are concerned about the history of exploitation of dominance, and what is their role to resist it in the current era?
Thank you. Yeah, that's the piece I have written, A Fierce Fear. I look at fear as a fierce thing because it can make anybody become very inhumane. What we think, if someone's having fear, and it will be very humble, slowing down, and very not powerful. But contrarily, if someone's in very deep fear, that one can be very inhumane, very fierce, very powerful to hurt the others. So for that reason, I really do having a fear towards fear, indeed. So my words to anybody, it's let's face the fear with our own authority and freedom. I used to say I face the prison authority and the military authority with my own authority and freedom. I truly believe we are independent one in terms of thoughts and words and belief. So with that, we can be integrated and we can be the source of power, even though we might not have any position as powers. So I just encourage, let's dare to be free, let's dare to be fearful towards fear. Thank you.
Kababa Anashin Sura Ponza, a muso Neshibare, Nisetari, Muso Shibare, Dariha, Luyalo Pilai, Jaja Kanayamas, who are saying that Joe Rothwamas, in general, Lugenet, Timusi Nangale Yome, Anashin Sene, or not come, Yoko, General Pilau with you.
There are many more other political prisoners who suffer a lot and having worse experience than his own. So his words to the others is don't be afraid of and facing whatever we face. There are so many different dictators all over the world with so many different styles. So whatever it does, if the people do face this kind of dictator with integrity, we can really overcome. So that's it.
I'd like to thank each one of you for enlightening us with your stories, ideas, and everything, inputs, insights. Thank you so much, and it was indeed quite an enlightening discussion, and an honor to have you all here. Thank you, audience, and we have lined up another interesting session tomorrow. In fact, a lot of sessions. We would start with When They Write About Us, talking about books on India from 10:15 a.m. onwards. Hope to see all our enthusiastic audience back then. Thank you once again.
ইয়াত খতম